Hi Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this is your January 2017 forecast. So January tends to be the time of the year for Capricorn. Of course the sun is in your first house and it's your birthday month, or your birthday has just happened at the end of December. And with the sun in the first, of course, the focus is on your personal identity, appearance, it's your outward behavior in the world, it's how other people perceive you. So with the sun in the first house, you're really able to project yourself with a lot of confidence and charisma. So you're very focused on getting things done and seizing opportunities, and the spotlight is really on you. So with the sun in the first house, one tends to be a little bit more self-involved, but in a good way. This is really with the sun, which is the energy in the chart, and it's also aligning you with your identity and purpose much more powerfully than in a singular kind of a way than at other times of the year. So this is really where you do want to be self-centered a little bit. The focus is on you and what you want to get involved with, where you want to assert yourself, express yourself, what's your sphere of influence. So seizing more opportunities, but also really you're thinking in terms of cultivation. Where are you going to sow your seeds this year? What projects are you going to get involved with? So your batteries are really charged now and you're out and about. So with the new moon on the 29th as well in your first house, this could be a time of a little bit of a personal reinvention. You can change your appearance. You can consider how your habits affect your persona and the way that you project in the world. So the focus here could be on appearance and, perhaps it's time for a little makeover. It's also when you want to be brave and try new experiences. But in general, very industrious time of year for you, very focused. So Mercury, of course, retrograde until the 8th of January. But Mercury is in your first house, so you are very mentally and physically busy at this time. Your mind is on a lot of different things, but it's also very clear and there's a sense of detachment. So this is good for finishing up unfinished business, so taking care of old business and renegotiating, so going over all sorts of contracts and making sure that you understand the fine print. So take the time to go over these things and make sure that you understand what's involved and what you're getting involved with. So terms and conditions, very important. So this can also apply to other people since Mercury is opposing your 7th house. So all significant partnerships and, whether they're business or spousal, use this mental alertness and clarity to really renegotiate the terms of all your close personal partnerships. So let's look at what else is happening this month. We've got Venus and Mars and Pisces in your 3rd house. So Mars in the 3rd really picks up the tempo. It's very good for mental work and activity, so you're able to work quite long and hard and get things done. Venus, on the other hand, brings that softening influence, so you're able to make a very good favorable impression on other people. It also tends to make your day-to-day routine a lot more pleasant, scenic, beautiful, entertaining. So these opportunities come to you at this time, so a lot of charisma and making a good impression on other people. So Venus in the 3rd, it's really good for socializing, for lots of interactions in your day-to-day rounds, ways to make things more pleasant and more enjoyable. And Mars, of course, this can really help you sell yourself and your ideas very well. So very good if you need to promote yourself in any way. Venus is going to help you look like a team player and look like someone who can get along and, not push too many buttons. But Mars, on the other hand, is very self-assured, self-assertive. So if you do need to sell yourself and your ideas at this time, you'll be able to express your ideas and opinions quite powerfully. So this, of course, also helps you interview very well. So on the 20th of January, we're going to have the sun moving into your 2nd house. And unlike the sun in the 1st, the sun in the 2nd is less inclined to take risks. It's more about material comfort and security, so things that you can then do to increase your security, to make yourself more comfortable. So this can be a good placement for pampering yourself and, making sure that you enjoy some indulgences. It's also a good time for financial reviews since this is the house of finances, so getting budgets in order, but also thinking of ways to increase your revenue or earning potential. So the full moon will be in your 7th house, and this is going to be about partnerships and renegotiating partnerships, striking a balance in your personal significant relationships. So let's look at the aspects this month. So as I mentioned, the new moon on the 29th of December will still be running for the first 2 weeks of this month, and There, the sun and the moon were conjunct Mercury, which is very good for lots and lots of conversations, for getting routine paperwork organized, also for considering new business ventures while finishing up old ones. With Mars in sextile to the sun and the moon, this is good for high energy work, for, putting physical energy behind projects and things that you're involved with. It's also good for taking a risk and for teamwork. So very productive new moon for you in your first house. So this could have some personal reinvention involved as well. So where are you going to push your energies? And this is not just for the first 2 weeks. It's just for the year ahead, generally speaking, as this is in your first house. So on the 1st of January, we've got Mars conjuncting Neptune. And this can really be when one feels a little bit off color from a little bit too much excess. So perhaps you're feeling a little bit fatigued and your morale is a bit down and you're feeling a bit discouraged. On the other hand, this is a very good aspect for charitable work, for helping someone else out who is in need. So it's very good for service and charity work. But one can also just feel a little bit exhausted and flat with this transit. So you won't necessarily be feeling 100%. So on the 3rd, we've got Mercury still retrograde sextiling Venus. And this aspect is very pleasant and light, and it favors leisurely pursuits for the mind, exploratory pursuits for the mind. So this is good for reading and entertainment, for pleasant chats. This one you really want to relax and enjoy as much as possible. If you need to express or communicate feelings of love, this can help you open your heart. So if you do need to tell somebody that you care, then this is the aspect that you want to use to do so, because it's really going to make you more sensitive to their needs and more sensitive to your heart as well and your own feelings about this other person. Also a good time just to take a lovely scenic drive if nothing else comes up. So on the 7th of January, we've got the Sun conjuncting Pluto in your first house. And of course, Pluto has been in your first house for a while and will be for some time to come. So here it's really been about developing character and, refining your personality. So personality under construction with this placement. But now with this aspect with the Sun conjuncting Pluto, this can really be about a reconstruction project. So if there's something in your life that needs repairing or needs your attention, then this can really help you, do that kind of repair work. And this can also be applied to situations where things have become a little bit disproportionate. Pluto and the Sun together can always show a little bit of a power struggle. So the energy is either creative or destructive. So it's up to you, how you're going to interpret this aspect. It's always better to avoid dangerous places at this time too, though, because Pluto can sometimes put you in harm's way. So on the 10th of January, you've got the Sun squaring Uranus between your first and your fourth house, and in the angles, this is quite a strong placement. And this can show disruptions and upsets, perhaps even accidents, and for you, this can be around the home. So you can expect the unexpected always with Uranus. So conflicts and disagreements could be happening at this time, particularly for you with family members. And it can make one a little bit more impatient and as a result more accident prone. So, you'll want to be a little bit more careful. So the full moon this month is in your 7th house. And this is the house of partnerships, significant one-on-one relationships. So with the full moon in this placement, you can have to sometimes consider the give and take in your relationships. So where the Sun in the first is all about you, the moon in the 7th now brings that focus to all the other important parties in your life. So it may be a time of renegotiation and compromise. There's squares between the Sun, Moon and Jupiter in this. So one is feeling very optimistic, very generous. You're in touch with your feelings and you're inclined to be very sharing and compassionate. So very good for strengthening ties in your existing relationships and really extending your generosity to people that you're in partnership with, and the good feeling as well. So on the 19th, we've got a difficult aspect between Mars and Saturn, and this is between your 3rd and your 12th house. So this can apply to something that you're working on behind the scenes. But also in general, this aspect just shows, the need to go a lot more cautiously and carefully, slowly and thoroughly. You can find yourself blocked by circumstances or people in authority, or feeling a little bit cowed by circumstances, a little bit more discouraged and demoralized. So best to keep your head low during this transit and just let it pass, because these energies will be a little bit antagonistic and will frustrate you in your day-to-day affairs. So on the 20th, the sun moves into Aquarius and into your second house. And this is that house of finances, security, where we feel comfortable. It's also the house of self-esteem. So this is where you want to pamper yourself, where you want to focus on resources, ways to increase your income, ways to bring more of what you value into your life. So very much about feeling secure and comforted. And so on the 20th, we've got Venus sextiling Pluto between your third and your first. And this is also very good for communicating feelings of love, because Venus and Pluto together in any aspect always deepens emotional ties, intensifies feelings. So feelings of love are more intense, feelings of, one's response to beauty is also more intense. So this is also always very good for creative projects. So if you express or do artistic work, then very good for creative work. It's also good for strengthening group ties, so aligning yourself with groups and other people and making those connections more deep. So on the 23rd, Mercury is sextiling Neptune from your first to your third, and this is very good for stimulating the imagination, for heightening the senses. One tends to feel more intuitive, more sensitized. One can be prone to dreamy escapism. So this is good for movies, books, and romantic reveries. It's also good for subtler insights, more philosophical or metaphysical insights. It's not so good for detailed rational work, however. So on the 27th, we've got Venus squaring Saturn from your third to your 12th, and this can have one feeling a little bit cool and reserved, a bit independent and isolated. This is good for evaluating relationships, for looking at all the kinds of give and take in our relationships in an analytical kind of a way. One can feel a little bit disconnected. So if you are feeling a bit gloomy and pessimistic, then just take a back seat and, keep to yourself for a little bit. So the new moon is going to be in your second house. And so the shift really is to resources, finances, budgets. And as I said before, what you value and how you can bring more of what you value into your life. So setting realistic financial goals, working on budgets, those will be good ways to apply your energy with the new moon running for 2 weeks. So on the 29th, we've got Mercury conjuncting Pluto in your first house. And this is very good for any kind of investigative research work. So if you need to get to the bottom of something, if there's a mystery that you need to solve. So one can also take your ideas and opinions a little bit too seriously. So, don't get on the wrong side of somebody with this, because that shrewd analysis can really cut somebody else down to size. But other than that, for research and investigation, very good for that. So very good for problem solving. So on the 31st, Mercury squares Uranus between your first and your fourth house. And this is also mentally stimulating, but in difficult aspect to Uranus, one can be feeling very scattered, also a bit more nervous energy at this time. Again, a little bit more accident prone, so be a little bit more careful, especially around the home. But just generally speaking for you anyway, with Mercury in your first house. So this can have one make hasty judgments and form hasty opinions, so be a little bit careful in word and speech and action at this time. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this forecast, please like and subscribe, and thanks so much for listening.